Bigger is always better, right? Well, it is if you're listening to car manufacturers, because car sizes have grown dramatically over the last several decades, with new Honda Civics now being the same size as old Honda Accords, and don't even get me started on the land yachts that are the new Suburbans and Expeditions. So with cars and trucks getting bigger and bigger each year, it's a little odd that both Ford and Hyundai have launched mini trucks. Both the Ford Maverick and the Hyundai Santa Cruz buck the trend of getting bigger and bigger by instead hanging their hats on being small, lightweight, affordable alternatives to mid and full-size trucks. Both these trucks are attractive vehicles with a lot of capability for their size, but the Ford Maverick owns the Santa Cruz when it comes to sales. In 2023, the Maverick sold 94,058 units compared to the Santa Cruz's paltry 36,675 units over the same time period. The Maverick is outselling its direct competition by nearly 300%. So why is this? Is the Ford Maverick really that much better than the Hyundai Santa Cruz? Well, the reason it sells so well might have less to do with the product and more to do with some other factors. My name is Kobe Hunter, and in this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why the Ford Maverick is outselling the Hyundai Santa Cruz. But before we jump in, if you like learning about how the business world works, consider clicking that little subscribe button because I think you're going to really like the videos that I make. Now, before we jump into why the Maverick outsells the Santa Cruz, we should probably go over the basics of what these two vehicles are. Both the Maverick and the Santa Cruz are considered to be compact trucks, meaning that they're the smallest trucks you can currently buy. For comparison, the Maverick is 200 inches long and the Santa Cruz is 196 inches long, while the Ford Ranger, Ford's previous smallest truck, is about 10 inches longer than the Maverick and 14 inches longer than the Santa Cruz. The size of these trucks allows them to fill a new and booming niche in the market. People want the capability and practicality of a truck without the downsides. Each of these mini trucks can tow between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds, which is plenty for most casual users or DIYers, and it can carry 4x8 sheets of plywood without a problem back from Home Depot. But they are a lot more fuel efficient and easy to maneuver than their bigger brothers. However, calling these vehicles trucks can be a bit of a stretch for some people, which leads us to our first reason that the Maverick outsells the Santa Cruz, which is that people consider the Maverick more of a truck due to Ford's legacy of selling trucks. To some, a truck has to be a body-on-frame vehicle with a massive V8 under the hood. Neither of these trucks come close to that definition, and honestly, most trucks don't even come with V8s anymore. The Ford Maverick is able to gain credibility because Ford has other trucks such as the Ranger, F-150, F-250, and F-350 that people know and love. Hyundai's list of trucks they sell and have ever sold is the Santa Cruz. That's the full list. To go even further with this point, the Santa Cruz's styling does not help endear it to the modern truck audience. The Santa Cruz looks much more futuristic and modern with its edgy styling, which I personally like, but the Santa Cruz stands in stark contrast to the Maverick, which looks like a mini F-150. The Maverick has the more traditional boxy look that American truck buyers are used to and love, which helps the Maverick draw on the strong heritage of Ford of selling trucks. How strong is that heritage for Ford? Well, in case you didn't know, the F-150 is the best-selling vehicle in America of all time. Ford sells an F-150 every 40 seconds in America. The brand of Ford trucks is strong, and no doubt the Maverick is able to capitalize on that legacy in a way that the Santa Cruz simply can't. Which leads us to our next reason, which is that Ford is just a more popular company and sells more vehicles than Hyundai does. These first two reasons are related in that they actually have very little to do with the Maverick itself. But it's important to consider these factors as they help us to paint the broader picture. But the short story here is that not only does the Maverick vastly outsell the Santa Cruz, but Ford in general vastly outsells Hyundai as a company. In 2022, Ford sold 1.8 million vehicles compared to Hyundai's 720,000 vehicles in the US. This is a very significant difference, and one that is in line with the difference between the Maverick and the Santa Cruz individually. Here, Ford is outselling Hyundai by about 2.5 times, and if you recall, the Maverick sells about 3 times as many units as the Santa Cruz. But enough with all these brand preferences. While yes, there are plenty of similarities between these two trucks, there are a couple of key differences that could explain the difference in sales figures. One of these key facts is that the Maverick sips on fuel compared to the Santa Cruz. Gas prices, as you know, can be really insane sometimes. In the state of California, you'll be spending $4.50 a gallon, while it sometimes spikes to be nearly $7 a gallon. Ford has knowingly targeted cost-conscious consumers because unlike the Santa Cruz, the Maverick comes standard with a hybrid option, whereas on the Santa Cruz, there's no hybrid option. This makes a significant difference in the fuel economy between the two models. With the hybrid engine option, the Maverick gets 42 miles per gallon in the city, 33 miles per gallon on the highway for a 37 miles per gallon combined. The Santa Cruz with its base engine, which is also its most efficient option, only manages 23 in the city and 27 on the highway with 24 combined. This is a large difference, and to illustrate the point, let's compare fuel costs over a year. It is estimated that Americans drive 15,000 miles a year, so using that as our mileage and gas prices of $4.50, we get that the Maverick would cost about $1,800 a year to run, while the Santa Cruz would cost $2,900 a year to run. In a single year, the Santa Cruz will cost you over $1,000 more to fuel up than the Maverick. Now, we did pick the most extreme examples here, as the Maverick does have a turbo 4-cylinder option that is less fuel efficient than the hybrid option. And yes, we did use California's gas prices, which are the highest in the nation. But the point still stands that the Maverick is better on fuel for cost-conscious customers. Now, as you spend time with these trucks, you'll see that there are some interesting differences with their interiors. Which brings us to the next point, which is that dollar for dollar, the top trim Maverick's interior outclasses the comparably priced Santa Cruz's interior. If we're going to compare apples to apples here, we need to compare the Maverick's top trim Lariat model to the middle trim SEL for the Santa Cruz, as they're relatively the same price. In its top trim, the Maverick gets features such as a wireless phone charger, which really shouldn't be a feature, but that's beside the point, faux leather seats, an 8-inch infotainment screen, as well as Ford's Copilot 360 system, which has lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control. In the Santa Cruz, you also get an 8-inch infotainment screen, but your seats are cloth, a wireless charger is an option, which again, you shouldn't really have to pay for that, and it's kind of a lame feature anyway, but in the SEL, you only get a Nerf version of adaptive cruise control with some lane centering assistance, but not the full highway driving assist that's offered on the Limited model. Now, Hyundai does offer a trim called the Limited, where you get a boatload of features that the Maverick just doesn't keep up with. In the Limited, you get full leather seats, a 10-inch infotainment screen, that wireless phone charger that they should have standard anyway, and you get Hyundai's highway driving assist, which is as good of a system as Tesla's autopilot, but they don't market it like that. So why aren't we comparing the highest trims for both of these vehicles? Well, there are two main reasons. The first is that truck buyers often are buying their trucks for usability purposes, not luxury. The Hyundai in the top trim offers more luxury compared to the Maverick, but that does not make it more desirable to all truck buyers. The second reason is that to get all of those features in the Hyundai, it's going to cost you a lot more. And this leads us to our last reason, which is that the Ford Maverick is significantly cheaper to buy. And at the end of the day, it comes down to price. The plain truth is that the Maverick is cheaper to buy than the Santa Cruz. A lot cheaper. Comparing base trims, the difference is substantial, but it just gets bigger from there. The Maverick starts at $22,595 compared to the Santa Cruz, which rings in at $25,700. Just over $3,000 in between the two. When we get to the top trims of both of these cars, we find an even larger gap. In top trims with all of the options, the Maverick costs $28,355, while the Santa Cruz costs $40,570 before taxes and delivery. That's a whopping $12,000 difference. And if you're someone wanting a small, cheap, reliable, practical work truck, or you're just on a budget, you're not going to care that the extra $12,000 gets you autopilot, a bigger touchscreen, heated and cooled seats, and full leather seats. And plus, when you jump up that high in the price range and get all those awesome features, you start competing with the lower ends of Rangers and Tacomas. And many consumers who are in it for the practicality will forego the creature comforts for more practicality and name prestige. Ultimately, what this means for the consumer is that you could go buy a top trim Ford Maverick with all the basic creature comforts for a lot less money than the Santa Cruz, and on top of this, the Maverick gets the better fuel economy no matter the trim or engine option, and you have a clear slam dunk when it comes to pricing alone. So, in one sentence, why does the Ford Maverick outsell the Santa Cruz? Well, the reason why the Maverick sells so much more than the Santa Cruz is that the Ford Maverick is able to capitalize on Ford's name, traditional styling, higher fuel economy, and most importantly, you're able to get most of the basic necessities for a lot less money. Now, the purpose of this video was not to show why the Santa Cruz is worse than the Maverick. These trucks are both great vehicles. I personally have a Santa Cruz and I absolutely love it. It's been the perfect little mini truck for me. The inspiration of this video was me trying to figure out and understand why so many people chose to buy the Maverick, despite me thinking that the Santa Cruz is the better vehicle, due in large part to that amazing highway driving assist. Let me know if there's anything in my analysis that you disagree with or you feel like I missed. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you should check out some of the other cool business videos I have on my channel, like whether it's financially better to buy, lease, or buy a used car. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.